Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite post-spawn and summertime techniques, and that's this guy right here. This is a Neko rig. If you're not familiar with a Neko rig, some people call it a Neko rig. Shinfukai always told me it's a Neko rig, so from that standpoint, that's how I'm going to call it. But basically, it's a wacky rig presentation, but you take a nail weight and insert it into the head of the bait, which is going to get it to fall faster to the bottom. It gets it to fall on a nose down approach versus, say, a traditional wacky rig, which is much more horizontal in the water column. And it seems to generate a lot of bites because when it falls to the bottom, it kind of stands up. And when it stands up, because your weight's at the head, it just tends to get a better reaction. And you can still work it and twitch it like you would a wacky rig, where you're just pulling it and that bait will collapse, spread out, collapse, and spread out. Very, very good bait to use, technique to use during the post-spawn and early summer. And I want to give you a couple of tips here. Today's video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app, which will help you select the best fishing places in the lake with features like the lake level, the current flow, the top baits tool, which will help you select the best baits for certain locations throughout the lake. Whether that's a clear water, stained water, dirty water, it'll choose the best bait for that location, provide you with all the information like what structure, what retrieve, different reel, all of the information that you need to catch the fish. This is in the app. The cool part about this app, though, is it's not just based on areas. It does provide you with specific tournament winning data that has been collected to help you figure out your best choices for baits and locations for whatever region of the lake it is that you want to fish. On top of that, not only does the app provide you with best locations, it gives you water clarity as well. So maybe you're on a lake like Lake Eufaula, where there is a bunch of different water clarity located throughout the entire lake. This will help you identify the clearest portions as well as the dirtiest portions of the lake. Plus, the Deep Dive app has now added the wind effect map, which is going to take all of the different wind conditions for the past couple of days and show you what banks on the lake are being hit the hardest. They also have inflow points that show you different places throughout the lake where your water is being flushed into the lake through different ditches and creeks and rivers, providing you with high percentage places to fish and letting you know what parts of the lake are going to be the best areas after a rain. Check out the Deep Dive app to help you become a better angler. The first being, when you insert your nail weight, you generally want to insert it into the head of the bait. But if you insert it through the nose of the bait, like that, you're going to lose a lot more nail weights. I would actually recommend taking the nail weight and starting up on the bait. So like that, and you just push it down into the nose, just like that. You get to the little nub, you just kind of pull it and you tuck that in to your bait. So now my bait is really buried much better in the bait, and it's not going to come out. When you go to cast it, a lot of times that momentum will actually take your nail weight, pull it out of the bait. In this case, that's just going to push the nail weight further into the worm. You lose a lot less nail weights. So that's the first tip for you. The other is, when you rig this, if you rig it through the worm like I've got it, you're going to be in a pretty decent position. But if you do happen to use, say, an O-ring, don't have your hook point down, because if you have your hook point down when you rig it like that, as this bait falls, if you happen to fall past a branch, it'll get on that branch every time. If you rig it where your hook point is up and it goes past a branch or a piece of weed or something, it'll hit it and just keep running right by it. So from that standpoint, always try to have your hook point up, or at least perpendicular to your worm. You'll have a much better time getting that through cover and getting it to be a better presentation for the fish. So those are a couple of simple tips, but what I really wanted to do the video on today has to do with the baits of choice. There is a hardcore following of these three baits when it comes to the Neko rig. The first one is the one that I've been holding right here. This is a cut tail worm by Yamamoto. Generally, the bigger sizes seem to be better for a lot of guys. This is the 7 or 7.5 inch. I'd have to look to see what it actually is listed at. but it's basically a 7-inch worm. The little cut tail on the end gives you a really nice tight wibble, a good bait fish presentation, and I know a ton of guys are using that with a lot of really good success. The other one that is dominating a lot of these tournaments where guys are throwing a Neko rig is this guy. This is a Berkley MaxScent Magnum Hitworm. Again, the key with this, not only that it's got the MaxScent material, which disperses a lot of that scent into the water column that the fish can actually hone in on to find the bait, but it's got this key little kind of bulbous tail. So when this falls, you get a ton of good motion out of this. When the bait's standing up on the bottom and wants to collapse, you just have a really natural movement. And this thing is getting a pile of love as well from a lot of big time pros. How do I know that, you ask me? Because they come to the Berkley pros to get baits from, because they know we've got a lot of these. So this is one of my favorites. This is just the plum color, plum apple. The other one, of course, is just the green pumpkin. Seems to be really good. But these two colors, absolutely dynamite. And then the third bait that you hear a lot of guys using when it comes to the Neko rig is just your standard trick worm. This is a Zoom trick worm. This is a little bit smaller profile than some of the other worms that I've gone over here. But again, it has a really good movement in the water, tends to want to stand up really well when you have it, and just generates a lot of strikes. There's not anything super fancy to this, but the fish really do like it. So from that standpoint, those are the three baits that I love to use anytime you're talking about using a Neko rig, and the top pros out there are using them as well. I'll put links for each of these in the video description. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use those links to purchase them and support the channel. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Get your Neko rigs ready. It is that time, post-spawn into summer, one of the best baits you can be using. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.